Hi guys, and welcome back to part 6 of the transition event recording. Now again, a quick recap. We've looked at a predictable selling system for recruiting new PDIs into your training system. And of course, once they then qualify, they will then come into your driving school as franchisees. And now we're going to look at predictable selling systems to actually keep them busy. Because if we don't keep them busy, then they're going to leave and the whole thing has sort of broken down and been a waste of time. Now, we are working on several new predictable selling systems and they are being tested as we record this. But for now, we're going to concentrate on two of the main systems. One is the new Google Ads. And by new Google Ads, I mean these are the ones that were introduced, I think it was around about September, October 2018. And we're also going to take a look at Facebook review promotions as a predictable selling system. So the first thing to mention is that they are very different. And there's a lot of misconception about how all this works. But just to quickly explain that Google Ads is what we'd refer to as an active campaign, okay? So when someone is actively looking for driving lessons, what they could do is go to Google and they type in their browser a search term, as in driving lessons Bridgewater. So what they're actually doing is actively looking for a service that we offer them. And of course, if we're able to construct an ad that shows up to match that query, then of course there's a likelihood that they will click through to our website and they may or may not convert. Now with Facebook is an entirely different system altogether. Facebook is what we would regard as a passive campaign. And the reason for that is it's very similar to like radio or television advertising, that most people do not go on Facebook to actively look to buy a product or service. That's generally not what they do. They're on Facebook for any number of reasons. And what we have to do then is put an ad in front of them on their news feed that might suggest to them that they, this is something that they might be interested in. And of course, our PDI predictable selling system does exactly that with massive amount of success. So that's why the two are completely different. One is active and one is passive. Okay, but we're going to look at the new Google Ads in this particular instance. And the things to mention here, I've just done a search for driving lessons Bridgewater, which is, of course, my hometown. And you can see that we come up in number 1 position. Generally speaking, when we set these ads up, I always target number 1. There is no doubt that if you're in that number 1 position, you will claim the vast majority of clicks, all things being equal. So you can see in this case there's 4, and Google, they do vary it. Sometimes they show 4, sometimes they show 3, sometimes they show 2, but the model is that they're generally going to start showing 4. And when I say the new Google Ads, there are a number of differences now that Google have introduced. And one thing to point out at this early stage, that if you have Google Ads running right now, or you've had a campaign set up in the past, you really need to check them, because we're seeing a lot of issues now with the old type ads before they did the update, and in a lot of cases they've become broken and they're not working. I think that's Google's way of telling us that they want us all to start using the new ones, which I suppose is fair enough. So let me just explain the changes then. First of all, we now have the opportunity to use 3 headlines. Now at the moment this ad is only showing 2. But in some occasions they will show 3. So the opportunity is there if you take it. They have also doubled the amount of description that we can have in our ad, as you can see here. And of course we've got the ability to put in site links that will link across. This one is just something that Google's plucked out from my website. I didn't put this one in, but these ones here are our site links. Now, the thing to point out at the beginning here is if you actually look at my ad, you'll see that it is bigger than my competitors. Now, they've got 2 headlines, but if you look at my description, it's 3 lines deep, whereas theirs is only 2. and they've got less site extensions. And then if we go down, and these are my main competitors in my hometown. And then if we go look down, which is the third ad, again, they've got the 2 headlines, and again, their description is only 2 lines, a bit like Green4Go. Now, that might suggest that they simply don't understand that Google Ads has changed, and you can now have 3 lines of description. And of course, it's not just about the fact you can get more information in, it makes your ad far bigger. And the bigger the space that you take up, the more likely that someone's going to click on it. And of course, the bigger the space you take up, the more it forces your competitors down the page. Now, this is quite alarming, really, because new driver schools, they're like a national concern. So I can only assume that they are either paying an agency to do this for them, or they've got someone in-house that's doing it. But, so okay, they've got the 2 lines. They have 1 line of description, which is really, really poor. And if they're paying someone to do this, they should shoot them. But of course, these ads will only be larger if you know how to add the content. Because if you don't, like here, then you're not really going to benefit from it. Okay, so let's just have a now just because that you show up, that doesn't mean to say that someone's going to actually click on your ad. I mean, why would they choose mine in preference to these other 3? Well, 1, because I'm at the top. So that's the first one they're going to see. Secondly, because my ad is far bigger than these ones. So there's another reason. But the third reason, and probably the most important, is what does it say in the headline title? Now, in my case, it says driving lessons Bridgwater because that matches the search. Okay, driving lessons Bridgwater is one of the most searched for terms of all. And obviously, we're using Bridgwater as the town, and this will be your town. And secondly, it says high first time pass rate. Now, I'm going to come on in a second and explain why we use that. And then it goes on to say, over 500 local reviews, reasons for choosing quality of teaching, patient and friendly instructors with excellent reputation, high number of recommendations, manual and auto lessons established for 20 years. Okay, and again, I'll explain as how I've come up to that conclusion. So we're leading with something we know is high first time pass rate is one of the number 1 reasons why they choose us. Now, we're not saying what our pass rate is. We're just saying that it's high. So, because it's impossible to state a precise pass rate because, of course, it changes day to day. If we take a look at our main competitors in the town, which are Green4Go. So driving lesson in Bridgwater. So they lead, that's quite smart. They lead with the same keyword. And having your ad set up to represent your keyword is a smart thing to do. But where we lead with high first time pass rate, they lead with become a licensed driver today. Well, what does that mean? How can you possibly become a licensed driver today? I don't get it. And I don't think that's anywhere near as powerful as suggesting that we've got a high first time pass rate. And then, of course, they lead with price. 12-hour lessons for the price of 10, £2.50. You're passing your time, not ours. Good instructor. I mean, what does that mean? Good instructor. Request a callback, view our pricing. I mean, it is, if you put this in comparison to mine, I'm going to be getting the vast majority of clicks here. And it is price led. And the problem with going price led is that if somebody else is doing it cheaper, like these guys, they're probably going to get the click. And then if we go down to the third one, now this is automatic driving lessons, but that's not what the person searched for. They didn't search for automatic driving lessons. So, okay, but it showed up anyway. So that could be that they're wasting their money anyway, because still the vast majority of people are looking for manual lessons. Book fast as they go quickly. I'm not sure people are going to buy into this. It is a little bit salesy, and it might well put people off. So if we look at their description, and remember that the title, if someone doesn't read your title, they're probably not going to read your description. So the job of the title is to encourage them to read your description. That's how it works. So driving lessons Bridgwater, yeah, that's fine. That matches up. First 2-hour lesson, only £10. So again, they're price led. and they will attract the cheap lesson brigade, which is fine. I don't want them. I just don't want them. So that means I'm not going to waste my clicks through people trying to look for this type of deal. So this is something you need to consider when you're running ads. And very effective structured course, no waiting list. See, no waiting list on one hand means that you can get in straight away. But secondly, you think, well, why is that? Anyway, pay as you go. That's interesting. So that's just give you a rough idea of Google Ads, the new ones, why they need to be the size they are. And it's all about, you know, what you have in the title, what you have in your description. Now, if we take a look at mobile, this is exactly the same search, driving lessons Bridgwater, and this is done on a mobile, on a smartphone. And the thing to point out here, I mean, often they'll show the results, they'll show the content slightly different on a mobile, but this is this is an iPhone X, so it's a reasonable size phone, and it says driving lessons Bridgwater, and here's our ad coming up at the number 1. Now you see, this is another reason why you really want to be number 1, because on a smartphone it fills almost the entire screen, whereas if you're number 2, people may see it and they may not. And interesting, on a smartphone, although we're number 1 on both desktop and smartphone, this second one, the one down here that's in 4th place on a desktop, is actually 2nd on a mobile. So as I say, they do show them slightly different. Okay, so the description's not quite as long, but they pack it out with our links, with our site links. So we still have quite a large piece of real estate showing up in there, and we've driven our competitors down. Now, if our ad wasn't as big, or we didn't use the site links, the likelihood is that this would then be more visible. So it's all about claiming, you know, getting eyes on your ad and claiming that first spot. Where I'm going with this is Google Ads is a science. It's an absolute science. And people have studied Google Ads for years and years and years. And we've been running them for 7 years now. And we have a deep understanding of how they work. Most of our competitors have no idea how they work. And they just burn their budget and they waste money day in, day out. Now, I'm going to go quite deep and I'm going to show you where people waste their money. Because Google Ads is not a simple set it up and leave it system. It is a living, almost like a living creature, and you have to nurture it to produce the best results. Okay, so websites. Now, this is all about Google Ads and not necessarily about websites. So why, therefore, am I showing you a picture of a website? Because this is another massively misunderstood concept when it comes to Google Ads. And what you have to understand as well, Google Ads, what you're paying Google Ads for is to attract the attention for those people that are searching for the services that you have to offer. So obviously in this case, driving lessons. So when they respond to your ad, let's assume that you produce a really good ad, as we've just looked at, and they click on that ad, that will then take them to your website. Now, what they find when they get to your website is another matter, okay? So just to be absolutely clear, you're paying Google to send visitors to your website. You're not paying Google to get those visitors to convert. Whether they convert or not is depending on the content of your website and what they see when they get there. Okay, so again, this is something that people really don't understand that well. So you could have a number 1 positioned ad, and you could have fantastic copy, gets all the clicks, and you send them to a website that sucks, and you might as well be just driving them off the edge of a cliff, because if they're not going to convert, it's all about converting. And this is not about getting the maximum amount of clicks. This is about pre-qualifying and getting the type of clicks that are likely to convert. Okay, so you need to be crystal clear on that. Now, I'm not about to delve into a whole tutorial on websites and what they should or what they shouldn't contain. But one thing you just need to get clear on is that your website needs to be very good at converting visitors to actual bookings. Now, we've run a website, crikey, since 2007. We've been running websites for a long, long time. And they've been constantly updated over the years. I'm very, very into website conversion. I built this website myself, but it's built on the back of data. Now, most websites are built by web developers, and although they may well be excellent at producing something that looks aesthetically very pleasing, and they have lots of little slideshows and all sorts of gizmos that they may attach to them, website developers generally do not have a deep understanding of our industry and what makes people convert. How could they possibly have that information? You know, I've been crunching data for 10 years. I know exactly what people do when they arrive on my site. I know what they look at. I know what makes them pick up the phone and call me. That information is absolutely invaluable. These website developers, there's no way in the world they're going to have this. If you go to a website developer and ask them to build your website, what they'll do, they'll go look at 3 or 4 examples of other websites in our industry, and then they'll build something that in their opinion looks better. What they won't do is build it on the back of what converts. Now, as you can see looking on the screen, is our core. The core of our website is, first they need to know who I am, what driving school we are. Then they need to know what area we're covering. Then they need to have a clear telephone number to be calling. Then we entice them with a try us and see deal. And then we have a money back guarantee. Now, I can't scroll because this is an image. And then backed up either side of that are customer reviews. And of course, lots of people now have cottoned on to the idea about customer reviews. But one, the customer reviews need to be very in-depth, okay? They need to go into a very detailed description of why I chose this particular driving school. And the other mistake lots of people make is that visitors have to click somewhere to go read the reviews. Now, what if they don't see that link? What if they don't click? They're not going to see them. So when we rebuilt this website a couple of years ago, we built it so they would be able to see customer reviews without actually having to do anything. So the moment they landed on the page, there it was, customer reviews everywhere. They couldn't miss them. And that has led to a massive increase in conversions. And we have other stuff on there as well. But so moving on, as I've already mentioned, I've studied website conversion for a long, long time. And someone in a business colleague of mine in a different industry suggested that I go purchase this book, which is called Making Websites Win. Now, this is a hardcover. It was £14 and it's about 350 pages thick. It is a very intense book, I have to say. But for someone like myself that likes all this type of conversion factor information, I was absolutely blown away by it. And you can see customer reviews, 5 stars, 47 reviews. For anyone that's this way inclined, this book is absolutely amazing. And I read it a couple of weeks before Christmas. I couldn't put the damn thing down. And straight away I was able to pluck some really good information that we could apply to our own site. And I did that just prior to Christmas. Now, there's still a hell of a lot of information in there and a lot of things that we're going to test throughout 2019. And of course, as we test them, the things that work will add to the website and the things that don't work will take away. And the thing with testing is a bit time consuming because you can only test one thing at a time. Otherwise, you won't know what worked and what didn't work. Okay, but one of the things that they suggested in this book is to really get a good converting website. You need to fully understand what's going on in your website visitors' minds when they come to your website. And what they suggested you do is find ways of asking them, what their thinking is, so you can have that understanding. Now, we're in a very fortunate position because we have a customer review template system, as many of you will know, and that gives us a massive amount of feedback. So I sort of look back over 532 custom reviews. And because one of the questions we asked them on that custom review is, what is the main reason you chose Kelvin White Driving School? Okay, that is the first question we asked them. And then I went through all of the reviews, and I have literally hundreds of them stored away. And I started to go through and start ticking them all off to try and get a deep understanding of what it was. Now, before I started this exercise, if anyone had asked me, I would have said custom reviews. That's the number one reason. But actually, you can see here, it wasn't. And the number one reason that they gave, 82 of them, was a high pass rate. Now, we don't actually tell people what our pass rate is because, to be honest, we don't know. We have a lot of instructors, and of course, it changes day to day. But nevertheless, high pass rate, everybody talks about high pass rates. But that was the number one reason that most people chose us. So again, this is data-led. This is not my my interpretation or my perceived idea of what people do. This is absolute data. This is what people said. So high pass rate. Secondly, it was price stroke offer. We've run a Try Us and See deal now for about 7 years, and it's extremely popular for us. So again, that was right up there. Number 3, custom reviews at 48. And recommendations. So arguably recommendations and custom reviews could sort of go into one. But recommendations, and we all know in this industry, we all rely on recommendations. Reputation, 45. And reputation comes on the back of what people have to say about you, which is custom review. So you can sort of see these three are all very closely linked. And number 6, quality of teaching. Number 7, patience of instructor, which obviously is really important to them. Friendly instructors, and then sort of local school and reliability. Now, there's a very good reason why I'm telling you all this in conjunction with Google Ads. Because if we just bear in mind, these are the top. So I've just given you high pass rate, price, offer, custom reviews, recommendations, reputation. So those are the top 5 reasons from these 532 reviews. Now, if we just go back to our ads and look at this one, you will see, what do we lead with? High first time pass rate. What was the number one reason they chose us? High pass rate. So is it any wonder then that we get the vast majority of clicks, because that is in our headline? Number 3 on the list of reasons for choosing was reviews. So there it is, over 500 local reviews. Reasons for choosing: quality of teaching, patient and friendly, instructors with excellent reputation, and a high number of recommendations. So we've taken all the top reasons that people gave for choosing us, and we've incorporated them in these new extended descriptions. So it's hardly surprising that this has become our most successful ad. See, there's a science behind this. This isn't just a case of, punch out a little text and put your ad on the Google Ad network. It just simply isn't like that. There is a complete science to Google Ads. I'm going to go live now into my ads account, because that's probably the best way to show you how it's all working. Okay, so we've just come into my Google AdWords account, and we're going to be looking at data for the 1st to the 31st of January. I'm actually recording this on the 30th, so we're a day short of the month. And the campaign we're going to concentrate on is this Bridgewater New Style November. So I set it up in November. The problem with that is that in December is obviously the worst time of the year trying to attract new customers, as we all know. And I didn't actually need any in December. So really I had to wait until January to do any serious testing. So this is the campaign we're going to take a look at. If you've listened to anything we've said on Google Ads before, you know that it's extremely important to set up at least 3 different ad groups: driving instructors, driving lessons, and driving schools. Those are the 3 main search criteria that people use. And by setting them up in separate ad groups means that you're going to be able to optimize them much more. And it's all about trying to optimize the ad for the particular keywords, as in like driving instructors is different than driving schools, as is different than driving lessons. And again, a big mistake that lots of people make is that they have just one ad group and they just pile everything into the same space, and that will cost you money. Now, I'm not going to drill through all of these, but you can see that driving lessons is nearly always the number one, the most clicked on campaign. And you can see in the space of a month, we've had 68 clicks. Driving instructors is in second place with 20, so less than a third. And driving schools right down there with just 5. So we're going to concentrate on the driving lessons one to give you some examples. Okay, so these are our keywords. Now, we don't use a huge amount of keywords. We've experimented in the past. We've used literally hundreds of them. But what it all comes down to, people only use a very small amount of keywords to actually search for what we have to offer. Now, when you set these up, the thing to mention here is that you'll notice that some of them have closed brackets and some of them have quote marks. Now, you could have some with none. Now, again, when most folk set up their AdWords, if they're doing it themselves, they don't actually put any quote marks, any closed brackets or anything. They just actually put in the bare search term. And that is an absolute recipe for disaster. And that's why Google offer you £70 voucher if you set Google Ads up, because they know you'll burn that in a week. It'll just absolutely burn out. And I'll explain why that is. If you put quote marks on them, that means it's a phrase match. So if you use something like driving lesson prices, that term has to be in there somewhere. Now, they could put something in front and they could put something at the back of that, and that will still trigger the ad. And I'll show you some examples of that. If you put closed brackets, that is an exact search. So unless someone actually types in their browser, Bridgewater driving courses, it isn't going to trigger the ads. Now, of course, if you set them all up with closed brackets, that will restrict the amount of clicks that you get, because it is an exact search and you're relying on people searching for exactly that phrase. Now, when it comes to something like driving lessons, that's absolutely fine. And if it's driving lessons Bridgewater or your local town, that works really well as well, because those are the two most searched for terms. I mean, you can see those are the two most searched for terms. But if we look at something like driving lesson prices, now this has got the quotes, so that means that it doesn't have to be exact. And you can see that actually that's got 34 clicks. Now, that's more, 3 times more than anything else. But that's not always a really good idea. And I'll show you why that is. So when you look at this, when you're running a Google AdWords campaign, optimization is massive. So you set it up on best practice, but then you really need to come in, it depends how granular you wish to get, whether you want to do it daily. I do mine weekly. Once a week I come in and I check and see what's going on. Now, I've purposely let this one go a little bit because I needed it to show you guys some examples. But after I've recorded this, there will be lots of changes that I'm going to make sure that I'm getting maximum return on my investment. So this is a really good example, driving lesson prices. Okay, and I'll show you where this could possibly be wasting money. So although we've had 34 clicks, if we go up here and we look at search terms. Now, search terms, this will show us what people actually typed in their browser. Okay, so this is not anything we've done. This is what they typed in their browser. Okay, so we can see now straight away 20 driving lessons for £200. And I've had 2 clicks. So that's clearly not something we offer. And then the person's mindset that's typed that are probably not going to be wanting to pay what we charge. So really that's never going to convert. And if we look across here, we had 2 clicks and we paid 93p for each click. So basically that's £1.86 that I've just thrown away. Okay, then we look at this next one, 20 driving lessons for £279, which is very similar to this one. We had one click, which cost me £1.34. So that's another bunch of money I've thrown away. AA driving lessons. Depends how you interpretate this one, because the person actually did do a search for the AA. Nevertheless, they still clicked on my ad. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I only paid 44 pence for that. And there's a chance that, were they really looking for the AA, or is that an opportunity for me to sneak in there and hijack their traffic, which is what's happened. Now, whether they've then gone on to book up with us or not, I'm not going to get into that now, but we have a system in place that we can track all that. So that actually could be a good idea. Automatic driving lessons, well, that's fine, because we do offer automatic driving lessons, so I have no problem with that. But of course, if you don't offer automatic driving lessons, then again, that's just cost £1.93. So there again, wasted money. Same one here. Now we've got here Bill's Wheels Droving School. So again, we've hijacked their traffic. They're searching for them specifically. And the same example with the AA. Now that's cost me £2.41, and I would probably put that as a negative keyword, stop them using that, because I'm not overly sure whether they'll convert or not. Best automatic driving lesson in Burnham-on-Sea. Now you can see I've already excluded that one, because currently at the time of recording we don't offer lessons in Burnham-on-Sea. So once again, £2.44. That's what it's cost me. Book driving lessons online. Again, that might be something of interest to you. New customers are not able to book lessons online with us because we need to control that situation. So therefore, that's not something we wish to encourage, and that's why I've excluded it. And again, 74 pence. And see, but you're getting the idea. And I mean, I've got like 44 of these. I could keep going through. But what you'll actually see is, oh my God, so, I've been running this for a month. Now, if you don't optimize your campaigns, this is what's going to happen. So I've been running this for a month. And the likelihood is that of all the clicks that I had, and you're thinking, oh, well, I've had like 66 clicks, but I've only had like 3 people ring me. Well, that's because the vast majority of the clicks were never going to convert, because they're for services that you don't offer. So hopefully I've been able to make that clear, that you can actually waste an absolute fortune. And of course, if you optimize, then you're going to save yourself some money. So how do you optimize? Right. So let's take these, for example, and I say I've specifically left these so I can use them as an example. So clearly we don't want this one, and we don't want this one either. The AA driving lessons, I might keep that one in because, it might be a way to hijack their traffic. Automatic we do. Best Wheels, I'm going to exclude. Burnham-on-Sea, I'm going to exclude. We can't have lessons booked online, so we'll exclude. And CBT training costs. So clearly that's not something that we're getting into. So these are all keywords that are costing me money. So what you do then is you come across here where it says add as a negative keyword. And you probably want to add these to the whole campaign. So these will be the 3 ad groups: driving instructors, driving schools, driving lessons. We'll add them across all of them. And then you click save. Now you can see that they're all excluded. So they're not going to show up again. So that means I'm not going to be wasting money on them anymore. And this is an exercise you really, really need to be going through. Now, as I said, whether you do it daily, every couple of days, once a week, it's up to you. But over a period of time, you will absolutely maximize your ads campaign. And, you'll increase your click-through rates, and the only people then are coming through to you are the most likely to give you a call. Right, now let's go look then. So this is the driving lessons group. So let's now go look at the ads that we're running. And generally speaking, you want to run a minimum of 2 or 3. And in actual fact, when you set ads up now, Google are suggesting that you run 3. And you want to split test them. So when you set this up in your settings, make sure that you set it for your ads to rotate evenly. Because if you don't, Google will just show the best performing. And although you may think that's a good idea, it doesn't give you the ability to split test. So you want to be showing them on an even basis, and then you can split test them. So if we look here, we're running 3. Now 28 clicks, 14 clicks, 26. So the winning ad at the moment over a month is this one here. And hardly surprising because, you know, I've already explained to you about what customers, why they chose us. And I give you the top reasons. And we incorporated those in the ads. Driving lessons Bridgewater, high first time pass rate. And then it says save £51 with our Try Us and See deal. And there's the description that I've already covered. So 28 clicks. The click-through rate was 16.18%, which is actually not bad at all for Google Ads. And you can see here it was positioned nearly always number 1. Now, if we look at the second best performing, it's Driving Lessons in Bridgewater, discount to Try Us and See with a money back guarantee. So a little bit different. You know, is it price led? No, not really, because we're not telling them X amount of money for these lessons. We're saying discount to Try Us and See, money back guarantee, different. And we have a different type of description. And that one has got 26 and it's got an 18% click-through rate, which is actually slightly higher than this one. That's why you need to split test. Now, if we look at the third one, that's got 14 clicks. So that's about, what, 50% of the clicks are going there. And, you know, over 500 views, one of the best pass rates. See, one of the best pass rates and high first time pass rate means something different to different people. And you can clearly see that they haven't reacted as well to this one. Okay, so once we've established, so the likelihood is what I'm going to do now, of course, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to click pause and I'm going to stop this one from running because it's not performing as well as these two. And now these are the two now that Google are going to be showing because they're better performing for me. And the other thing to weigh up here is if we look at the clicks, then we'll look at the cost, average cost per click. So this top ad is costing me an average of £1.64, which, believe me, is very cheap when you're considering we're in number 1 position. So we're outbidding all of our competitors. Now, your competitors, or my competitors, will be paying substantially more than £1.64 because they don't understand how to set their ads up properly and quality score and all this type of stuff. So I'm quite happy to go toe-to-toe with them, and I know that they're going to be paying more than me. Because if that wasn't the case, they would be number 1 and not me. So £1.64. This one down here was costing £1.43. So, you know, a couple of pence less, which is good. But the one in here was costing £1.50. So I'm actually stopping that one now because and the click-through rate was only 9%. Now, the other thing to look at, so hopefully you're seeing with optimization now. First, we looked at the keywords and we were able to optimize those to save money. And then we're looking at the ads and we can optimize those to save money again. Another important feature is how are they, what sort of device are they using? So again, top performing ad, only 4 out of that 28, only 4 of them came from either a laptop or a desktop. 4 of them came from a tablet and a massive 20 of them came from a mobile. Now, this is not news to us. We know that our target market generally spend their lives on their mobiles. One thing that you absolutely need to nail on here is that your website needs to look fantastic on a mobile platform. So go look at it, see what it looks like on a mobile, because that's where nearly all your visitors are coming from. And you might well need to do some optimization or changes on your mobile platform. Because if you don't, again, you're just going to be throwing money down the drain. If we look at the second performing ad, 26 clicks, again, 20 coming from smartphone. only 3 from desktop or laptop, 3 from tablet, and the other one was much the same. So none actually on a PC, 13 on a mobile. So that makes it perfectly clear that virtually all of our potential new customers are coming via a mobile platform. So you really need to make sure your mobile version of your website is performing in its highest capacity. Okay, the other thing we can take a look at here is extensions. And this is where you set up your extensions. You remember at the beginning of this recording, I explained how important site extensions are because it makes your website larger, but it'll also give people the opportunity to click through to various parts of your website rather than just the main landing page. And on the subject of landing pages again, if you only cover one particular area, then it's fine to send visitors to your homepage. If you cover more than one area, 2, 3, we cover 8, then it's an absolute must that you send your visitors to a specific area landing page. Okay, so we cover 8 areas, as I said. We have 8 separate landing pages. So if we're using Bridgewater in this case, we need to send them to a page all about Bridgewater reviews, Bridgewater this, Bridgewater that, because that's going to improve your quality score. And your quality score will determine how much you're actually going to be paying for your ad. So again, a big factor. And this is where you set up your ad extensions. Actually, if I just go back to keywords, here we go. So quality score, which I forgot to mention just now. So driving lesson prices, quality score 8 out of 10. Other things, so 10 driving lessons, which is one of the highest performing. Quality score is 8 out of 10. 7 here for driving lessons Bridgewater, which is another biggie for us. Quality score 8 out of 10. Bridgewater driving lessons in Bridgewater, quality score 9 out of 10. Now, how you improve your quality score, you need to make sure that your keywords are in the correct ad group. So you can see all these keywords are to do with driving lessons. It doesn't mention driving schools or driving instructors, just driving lessons. They need to be in an ad group specifically for driving lessons. Your actual ad needs to talk about driving lessons. So it's the keyword, the ad, and the ad group all need to be running, on the same path. And then when you send them to your website, in this case here, driving lessons Bridgewater, when they arrive on your website, the information on that page that they land on needs to be all about driving lessons Bridgewater. Because that's what Google will do. The moment that you put these ads live, their robots will go and look at all these factors. They will then use your link, go visit your website, and very quickly scan the page and digest the information within that page. And then they will calculate your quality score. And your quality score is made up of website content, and as I've already said, the way you construct your ads. And that's how I come to the conclusion that when I bid always for the number 1 position, and I was paying something like £1.60 per click, I just know that my competitors are just not doing this stuff at all. They might not even know what quality score is. And I can just look at their websites and see that anyway. So I'm pretty confident that there is no way they're going to match me at the top. They just couldn't afford that budget to outbid me. So that's why we have to do all this stuff. Okay, so hopefully that's been a little bit of an insight into, I could spend 3 hours talking to you about Google Ads and we could drill into all sorts of things. But that's the main concept of how they work. And really, if you're going to set up your own AdWords campaign, you really do need to digest some information on this, because I've shown you some really good examples how you can blow your budget. And this is why, a lot of ADIs will say Google AdWords don't work. It absolutely does work. You just need to have a deep understanding of how the whole thing comes together and, how to avoid burning your cash. Now, we appreciate that folk need a bit of help on this one. So we're going to be making this available on a done-for basis. So basically, there will be a setup fee for us to set up your campaign for you. We'll put everything in place along the lines that we've just explained. And we will optimize it on a weekly basis to make sure that we get your cost down to an absolute minimum, but ensuring that your click-through rate is an absolute maximum. So you're getting the maximum return for your investment. So we will make that available, and I'll give you some links if that's something that's of interest to you. If you're actually a member of ADI Business Success, then I will also record a how-to campaign, and it will give you the instructions so you're able to go in and do this yourself. Obviously, if you do it yourself, then you're also going to have to find the time to do your own optimization, because believe me, you know, this is absolutely key. So you'll have two choices there, and obviously it's completely up to you, whichever one you decide to go for. Okay, that just about wraps up this presentation, but just a quick summary. Make sure that when you set your, if you're going to do this yourself, make sure that you set your ads up with a title that's likely to perform for you. Make sure that you use the maximum amount of characters you can in your description, and include items that you know customers will actually convert on. Make sure you set up your site links, because one, it will make the ads bigger, and two, it will give them the ability to click through to various sections of your website. Make sure that you're sending them to a landing page specific for the area that you're targeting. So like in my case, Bridgewater. The next thing is your website. Make sure you have a good look at your website before you start this. Make sure that you've got all the key conversion factors within it. And we'll do a separate tutorial on websites and all the type of things that you might want to think about having in place. But for now, just understand that your website needs to convert, because if it doesn't, Google AdWords is just simply going to waste your money. Make sure also that it looks great on a mobile platform. As we've already discussed, it looks very, very different, and that's where most of your visitors are going to come from. And also have a deep understanding of where your customers, what your customers are thinking. So if you're running a similar customer review template system that we do, and of course many of you in ADI Business Success will be doing that, you can look at your own data and you can do exactly what I've done here and come up with your own list. It'd be quite interesting to compare whether or not it's any different or not. Okay guys, that wraps it up then. I will be back again in part 7 of this presentation, and then we'll be looking at passive promotions on the Facebook platform. Bye for now. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to click the little bell. That way you'll get a notification every time I put up a new video. Thank you for watching.